Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yeah, and we are here with one of my favorite Minnesota musicians. We've got Mr. Erik Koskinen. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing?
Pretty well. How about you?
Good. The same big first world problems as everybody else, I guess. So nothing to complain about here.
That's exactly. I see that you've been playing kind of all around Minnesota. I don't know if you know, I have a cousin in Cleveland, Minnesota. So I was like, oh, I should go down there. But how have those shows been going? Because you play the Cleveland Muni every now and again, it seems.
Yep. So we have a handful of gigs that became sort of regular gigs before the global pandemic. So we would do a certain thing every November and a certain thing every October. And this Cleveland municipal liquor store, this last time was our second time. So last summer, the lost summer, 2020, we didn't do it. 2019, we did it. 2021, we did it. And so this was our second time doing it. And it was kind of just it was great. People came from all over the state. It was outdoors, in between my recording studio and the town-owned bar / liquor store. And we have a lawn in between, and they got one of the farmers from down the road to bring a flatbed trailer that was big enough for a stage, and we got a sound guy, and the town filled up. It's the most people they've had in town in I think 30 years or something like that.
That speaks to the ethos of your songs to a T.
That's good. I mean, that feels good. They had so a lot of the outdoor stuff all went really good, and then some of the indoor stuff, since the weather has cooled down, has kind of been a little questionable as far as people buying tickets for indoor shows, and I think I can understand why, for sure.
Well, that leads to, because you've got a show coming up this week, Friday, at the Uptown VFW.
Yep. Which is one of those shows that we started doing as every November, like second or third week in November thing every year. So the lost year, we call it, last year. When the lost year is a year and a half long, there's, there's some things are a year and a half ago and some things are 6 months ago. So, this will be our third time doing this show. Yeah.
Okay. I think it must have started just when we started doing the radio show, because I remember we met one of our first guests, Doug Collins, there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I always have fond memories of your shows.
What year did you start doing the show?
I know. I guess it must have been 3-4 years ago. As you say, it's so hard to know when we lost a year and a half.
Yeah, right. So last year would have been 2020. We didn't do that. So we did 1918. So 18 was the first year.
Maybe that was it. Must have been about then.
Yeah, okay.
Huh. Yeah. No, we're excited. As I said, I always enjoy seeing that. That's kind of the start of a tour, because then you're going to...
That's actually the second day of tour. The tour starts in Madison. You can give my agent a hard time, because the day after we drive back through Madison to get to Rockford, Illinois.
I was going to say, I'll be driving through Rockford in 2 days. I know where Rockford is. I know where Madison is. I should be your manager. I could be... Even my sense of direction is better than that.
Right. I think that was just dates that we couldn't get around, and it worked that way. So the drive from here to Madison, you just have to omit that from your brain and pretend that you're starting in Madison, and then it's not that big of a deal.
No. And well, it seems like they'd be fun places to play, because you've got, Madison, Minneapolis, Rockford, and then is it Arlington Heights?
Yeah, it's right outside of Chicago. I guess it's part of Chicago.
I lived there when I was
Yeah.
a kid. It's
Oh,
a
you
big
did?
racing track there.
Oh, there is like horse racing or car racing? Or
Horse racing.
horse racing. Okay.
Yeah. I
I
lived
lived
there when I
near.
was 5. I say that like I was a regular there. You know.
Oh, cool. I used to go down. I didn't watch too many of the races because I wasn't part of that world. But I used to go down by the track. I lived near Saratoga Springs, New York. They have a big track there. That's big, famous for their track. Yeah, I lived up north of there, but I'd be down there for stuff sometimes, and I always like to go see the horses. And I never got to. I could never maybe afford to see a race at that point in time in my life, but I've been to some horse races since then, and I dig it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Erik, I want to ask what you did with yourself during the last year, since you're such a frequent residency holder, and I know weekly we would look forward to seeing you play at various places, and now since it's slowed down a bit and you're always on the run, what was your time like? What did you do?
Well, some of the time was, for a lot of musicians I know, maybe they don't. I'll admit it, but it was welcomed. Some things, some of the things we got breaks from were nice to get breaks from, I guess. But playing music with, your cohorts or your musician pals or your band mates, whatever you want to call them, and for people who are there to listen, that part was missed for sure. I spent a lot of time outside, just cutting firewood and fixing cars, and I did some. I participated in combining corn and soybeans for the farmer that lives next door to me, and I wrote the second half of the sort of shutdown. I wrote a lot. I didn't write a lot the first half, but the second half I did. And it's kind of hard for us. The shutdown was a certain time period of when you stopped playing music until you could start playing music again in public. So that whole entire time was over a year. Some people shut down, maybe it was 2 weeks. Some people didn't have a shutdown. So like truck drivers or whatever, so if people are watching this and they're like, well, I went to work every day. Some people did go to work every day, I guess, but we couldn't, because nobody was hiring bands, and that's just the way it was. I know some musicians who would go out and they did some like backyard house concerts, and they did, or they went to states where there wasn't maybe shutdowns, to maybe get gigs, and I don't know, maybe what's a state that did that? Florida, maybe Arizona. I'm not sure.
Well, even the Dakotas were more open than Minnesota for a while.
Yeah, the Dakota. Yeah, Dakotas was some of it too. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And so yeah, the second half I wrote a record. I recorded a record. I also did this. I started this thing right away where I would send out my acoustic guitar and vocal to a bunch of people. So many people have home studios nowadays, and I got tons of people to play on a record. Instead of me sitting in the studio, which I do a lot, and play all the instruments myself, I decided it would be kind of fun not to listen to myself play the same stuff over and over again, because you get kind of stuck in ruts, playing the same style of guitar in the same place on the neck, and the same guitar the same way. You get bored with yourself. So I sent tons of tracks out to people and got a lot back, and could probably have put out a record a year ago at this point, but I couldn't quite get it done. So I'm still working on it.
As you just answered that question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Does that answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
But what's so interesting, because you have such a classic working man's, go to work in the dark, work till, till it's dark again. I find it interesting that you could keep writing, you know what I mean? That you had time to quiet your schedule, and that you had the time to quiet yourself to write more, I guess, because it was such a stressful time too.
It was a stressful time. I think, and I don't know if this is true for everybody. After the whole media circus of our last presidential election, that was a time after that is when I turned the radio off and started writing and felt good about doing it. And before that, it was pretty difficult to turn off the news, because every day was like this sort of near potential catastrophe, I call it. Every day had a new potential thing, and it was, we were all just sitting around as like, well, waiting. Well, what are they going to do now? Kind of thing. So that was part of it. But I also I did stay pretty busy. My mom, right in the middle of sort of the strictest nationwide lockdown kind of stuff, my mom got pretty sick with some cancer, and so I drove. She lives out on the East Coast or New England kind of area, and I drove out there, and I had to quarantine and take tests and all that stuff because I was the only one who's going to hang out with her at the hospital, and because of all the rules, because of the global pandemic, right? So I think I drove 24 hours without entering a building. And I took tests before I left, and I got there. Then I was in the woods. My mom was out in the woods, so I was in the woods without anybody for a couple weeks, and people would drop off groceries at the top of the road and stuff like that. So that's how I got through that. So I cut all our firewood for the winter, and was out in the woods out in New England for a while doing that. And that took up quite a bit of time.
Am I remembering correctly that your mom is a poet?
Well, she's a writer. Yeah, she's a poet, writer and poet. Yeah. In fact, she reminded me, which I kind of forgot. I mean, I knew she had done one of our Real Phonic radio hours, but she did the one that Nias Mitchell was the headliner at, if you remember that.
Well, that's how I remember. It's exactly how I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And she retired from teaching at the beginning of the pandemic. So May, I think, was her last semester. But she didn't know that she was going to spend half of the next year in the hospital. So she was in the hospital for over 3 months. But she's out and she's rocking and rolling. In fact, she called me yesterday to get to the hospital, you have to take a boat, a ferry boat across the lake. So when I was there, I had to go to the hospital every day. Every day was a ride across the boat and ride home across the boat. And then she just came back from the hospital, and she was cancer-free after was it a year checkup? I can't remember if it was every 6 months. I think they do it, but this was another 6 months.
Great. That's congratulations.
Yeah, I'm telling you all this stuff. I'm just talking. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. It's a frightening time. It's a frightening thing at any time, but especially during COVID to have, I mean, it's just as exacerbated by, it's just all of the rigmarole you had to do on top of having to get on a boat to get there.
Yeah, right. For sure. I wasn't really used to it. A lot of people have, I really kind of put in perspective the whole mask thing. other than going to the grocery store, I never, I have a recording studio in a building that's separate from anybody else's thing. I'm the only one with a key, and I didn't have to wear a mask there, and I don't wear a mask at home. And we're on 80 acres, and the farmer was sort of my neighbor farmer that I was around a lot. We were all sort of in the same bubble, I guess you would call it. So all of a sudden I'm in a hospital for the first time, the first day of the surgery. I think I was there for, 18 hours. I had a mask on for 18 hours straight. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is a whole new, yeah, that. And just like the smell of the air when you first go back outside with the exhaust of cars and a parking ramp and stuff like that was really odd. Yeah. So I took, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, all these nurses, wearing 2 masks and all this stuff, and how much all the stuff people are dealing with that I didn't. I mean, I'm paying attention and compassionate about it all, but I hadn't sat around with a mask on for a whole day yet at that point in time.
Until you're in the shoes, you're not in the shoes.
That's right. That's for sure. Yeah.
How much did this experience influence the writing that you ended up doing second half?
I'd say probably all the way, I guess. I think it just changed. You have all that time off, and your perspectives change, and we had nationwide race protests, and a lot of that stemmed out of our own neighborhood here in Minnesota.
Yep.
And then just the craziness of the last year minus the pandemic, which we all get numb to. But then when you're sitting at home watching it all happen because you're not busy, your normal daily life is not happening, then it changes your perspective on all that stuff. Changes your perspective on everything.
Well, I think of the progression because I think America Theater was a much more political, maybe not overtly, but you hit a lot more on certainly economic terms in that album.
Social, economic, political, yeah.
I don't want to push politics on anybody,
No, you're right. Yeah.
I think certainly much more than keep it to yourself. And so it'd be fun to see the progression of the net,
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like, well, one thing that's different about the new stuff, which I'm releasing this new song. It's not a new song. It's the original demo version of the song Down in the Factory, which was off the Burning the Deal record. Mm-hmm. I struggled finishing this new record, so I actually have 2 other records worth of stuff I've never released before. And so I'm taking about a record album's worth of them and releasing them, and I think they're pretty good. They weren't, I guess, but the new stuff that's will be coming out soon, when we get it done, they're all love songs. Now, none of them. Now, there's always social and maybe political. Like, there's always stuff going on within the song. I've always written that way, I guess. Yeah. But I kind of wrote a bunch of love songs on purpose, kind of. And so it's definitely going to be a little different from like America Theater, I guess.
On purpose, what? Dive into that a little bit. You wrote them on purpose.
Yeah, well, I've always, you write songs about relationships. I mean, that's pretty classic kind of writing songs. Even if there's, I always feel like there's multiple things going on in some of my songs. There's a social aspect going on and this political thing. And while these two people are trying to maintain their lives together or something, I'm always making these sort of theatrical songs, and love is always happening, whether it be good love or bad love or whatever. But I wanted to try to write songs that I've written those songs, and I'm going to try to write some other kinds of songs. And I moved out of the city. Mainly I moved to southern Minnesota because I fell in love with a lady, and so, well, I write different songs than when you're not in love with somebody. So it changes the way, maybe I wrote songs before because I was in the wrong relationship or something like that, or you were in love in a way that you shouldn't have been, or a bad relationship could actually write you a lot of songs. John Prine, I would watch this John Prine concert one time. It was something on YouTube, I guess. It was live in Germany, and he had just gotten divorced, and he said, he told the audience, he's like, well, I just got, I got divorced in the song truck, backed up into my driveway and dumped a bunch of songs on they just showed up, and all of a sudden I had them, and he's right too, because it's when you're struggling like that, is for songwriters anyway, that's very time to get a lot of things written down, which I guess is kind of like the cliche country music, at least to the older country music, the 50s and 60s stuff, divorce, divorce.
If you don't believe me, I'll find someone who will. Those classics.
yeah, all that kind of stuff, and George Jones and Tammy and Hank Williams. I mean, tons of them, right? So those struggles create those kinds of songs. But I wanted to write these love songs when I wasn't struggling, which took a different side of the brain, I guess. But because I had never really done that before. Even I wrote a song called "Will You Feel My Love," and it's at the time, will you feel my love when the earth won't turn? I mean, it was like about the earth end, the apocalypse or something like that. I mean, it's,
if you only knew.
Right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So instead of writing these weird, sarcastic, not necessarily sarcastic, but these songs that come from this other place, I decided that I was going to focus on what was happening in my life at the time. So I wrote a bunch of love songs, and they're good. I like them.
And they're happy.
Well, no, I mean, no, that's not like, it's not, no. I wish I should.
I say like that, like you've never written a happy one, but you write some good, not so happy love songs.
They're not happy. Like I woke up this morning and the birds were shining and I smiled and I looked over across the bed at my left. No, it's not like that kind of stuff. No, it still has the apocalyptic tones going through them, of course.
Good.
But real life.
Oh yeah, for sure, real life. Yeah. Maybe they're not as different as I think they are. Maybe but the intention at the beginning of writing these songs was different than the older songs. So I think that maybe I'll be the only one that knows the difference. Maybe in the style.
It makes me super interested to hear them now, I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I should have sent you one, I guess, before this.
Oh, it's not too late. You can send it to us tomorrow, but we will have. But it does make me excited to hear about it. I mean, it does,
Yeah.
you know. And what's funny is, as you know, I used to bring my daughter to see you at least once a month for
Mhm.
a couple years at Real Phonic, and you'd say, and this is off the new album, and she'd say, well, he's been playing that for a year at
Yeah.
least. You know, when you see someone all the time, and so it's funny to think of a new song that I wouldn't have heard, because in normal times I would have at least, you know, I would have heard something
Yeah.
in the last 6 months, and it must be
Right.
strange for you to not. I mean, you've been playing, but not as much.
No, not as much. And these new songs we haven't played. There's a couple of them I would bring out, and we either play during sound check, or we'd play just so the band would start to get them in their head, you know. But I'm trying to have the music business in mind, where it's like I don't really know how the music business works anymore, and I don't know if anybody does.
No.
Because the way it would have been is you don't play all the new songs until the day and after that day that the record is released, so you don't give it away, so people are excited about it and then they go out and buy it. I don't know if that's the case anymore. You know, now everybody releases everything either in singles or on YouTube, or the rules are different, if there's any rules. But I'm sort of been doing this long enough where the traditional kind of I'm not going to give all my songs away, especially now that everybody has a camera to film it, before the record's ready for sale, because you're also trying to make a living at some point, and I want to sell the record too, but I don't know if anybody buys records anymore. So after
I do.
You do?
I do.
Yeah. So, but the one thing about the last year is lots of questions you go through your head. Like, we're not playing, which means we're not buying records. When you're not, I get emails that show where and how often and how many times my songs get streamed on, say, Spotify or Apple Music or all that, you know, those platforms. I'm not sure I'm supposed to say their names on. I don't know how it works anymore.
I think it'll just make the algorithm better now that you've said them.
Right. Okay. Good. YouTube, Spotify,
Yeah.
Apple Music, Facebook, Zoom. When you're playing music, more people are streaming your music. When you're not playing music, less people are. It just is the way it is. So we didn't sell a lot of records, physical records, during the quarantine. So then you question, you get in somebody's car, nobody has a CD player in their car anymore, and then you question, well, I ran out of CDs of my new record, am I supposed to reprint those? You know, 1,000, then you have a box of 1,000 records or more, and underneath in your house, boxes, I should say. And then you run out of another one, and you question, are you supposed to do another one? You know, are you supposed to keep on printing records? And then we did play outdoors, and we did sell CDs this summer. So then I ended up reprinting stuff. So I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. But
I think that the music industry, starting with 20 years ago with Napster, and once everything went online, there are few industry, maybe cameras, the only other industry that's been so tumultuous over the last couple decades, and it just on fire for the last, because and then you've got people who have more disposable income because we've been working, we had nothing to do, and then you have people who obviously haven't been able to work, and it's
I'm curious on what's going to happen next with the music business, because they keep on rebranding the same music, so you have to buy it again in a different way. And I keep on wondering what's going to be it was vinyl, or even reel-to-reel tape machines in people's houses back in the day, and then it became then they had 8 tracks for a while, and then the 8 tracks became the cassette tape, and then they remastered them poorly for CD, and then they remastered them properly for CD, and then they had poor MP3s, and the MP3 got better, the streaming thing, and then they started doing the downloads, you know, and then they started remastering, and then they started putting CDs back on vinyl again. And then they started remastering the remaster of the CD for the new vinyl. And now nobody downloads music anymore. Now you just stream it. Which means that you have to have a device that has to be connected to the big world, the internet thing. And I just got internet at home for the first time in 7 years. We weren't able to get internet unless we wanted to pay some ungodly amount of money for 3 gig of information a month. It was what it was. And so I can't participate in that. I still have a CD player in one of my vehicles has a cassette player and a CD player in the same thing. And I still burn CDs. When I'm mixing records for other people, I'm burning the mixes onto CDs so I can hear how it sounds through that device in my vehicle. But what happens when I get rid of the CD player? I'm not really. When I have to get a vehicle that doesn't have a CD player, I guess I have to get a new device, I guess. But I'm curious to know what they're gonna have to come out with a new version, or music is gonna keep on getting less and less. It's free, I guess, right?
I was gonna say, is profitable the word you're looking for? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
People need to get paid. I mean, and I think that maybe there's a recognition that if you want to hear someone's next album, you better buy this one, or buy a T-shirt, or buy a ticket, or find a way. And maybe that's where something like Patreon comes in, where people kind of give you a subscription service.
Oh yeah, Patreon. Yeah, I guess that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't know much about that. Have you kind of? Do you follow any of those?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just say partially because I've got. I get a lot of CDs through the door. I get a lot, and
you do, yeah.
Yeah, and I can listen to them in the car some, but my last year meant, I went from being on the road. We've had the discussion. If they're big enough to have an audience for you, I'm not going there for work. I go to everywhere where you can't get broadband. But I went from being on the road a certain amount every week to
nothing.
I think
so
you're not
driving around. You're not just driving around to listen to CDs.
No.
And then you get rid of them because you just have boxes and boxes and boxes of CDs in your basement or something like that.
I got a couple of college stations I drop them off at.
Good job. Maybe I'll
like
do that.
To share.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I like to share my love. But I do think people, and that to get to your point, people will doubt, because I listen to it when I run, certainly sometimes when I walk, and I think that's. But again, that has so much to do with just the upheaval of our lives in the last 2 years.
Yeah. I'm not sure the answers, I guess, but I have a lot of questions. I don't know any of the answers.
I have a question of down in the factory, because now I want to know what inspired that, and when I'm ever in Egan, I feel like I should play that song because I see Amazon world all over the place.
Yeah, stuff like that is what inspired that song for sure. So it's not, obviously, the listener who's listening, I would assume that it's not about a guy or a gal in a factory, of course, but the imagery is correct. That imagery of somebody toiling away at the same exact thing, like putting one bolt in a fender for 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day or something like that, and that's it. So that sort of that stuff we're talking about, that sort of repetition of I don't know, capitalism gone wacko or something like that, where everybody seems to be following the same path. Individualism gets less and less, I feel, with the device stuff, the phone. It's kind of like if there's an event happening somewhere in Minneapolis or any city for that matter, and a bunch of people are going to it, the one road that's on the way gets bad traffic because nobody will take the shortcut. They just take the way that the phone tells them to take. It becomes the same. It becomes this sort of you start to question, like, this is somebody's in charge of that. Why is everybody driving on the same road when they don't have to? And why is everybody using the same device? Why is everybody has to have the same one? There's one. I mean, maybe there's a different brand of phone, but I mean, there's one thing. And people in Germany, they were going to put stoplights in the sidewalk down at your feet, so people looking at their phone would see not to walk out into traffic, stuff like that. And in London, there's signs. It says look. It tells you to look up.
Look left. Look left. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's the look left thing too. Yeah, but I mean, just the look up,
Jeez.
So you don't cross the road without looking for traffic, because everybody's walking with their head down and stuff. So then the fact, so you take that into mind, and then you put in the normal struggles of our every human day existence of not being able to afford good, healthy food and healthcare and all that kind of stuff, while we also are the nation that throws away so much food every single day. It's crazy, right? I mean, how much food that this country throws away, and how much farming there is that doesn't actually grow food, and just the whole, I guess all the wacky stuff going on in the world. That's how that song came about. The factory.
And
everybody's in the factory. We're all in the factory.
This is the song that you have the video coming out tomorrow. Can you tell us anything about that too?
The video, yeah. I found it sort of. I have all this footage. I have this little point and shoot camera video thing. I walk around. I was doing a lot of combining and some truck driving and stuff for the farmer who farms all the property around me. And they're really good people, and they're trying to take care of the land, and they're in the world of knowing what they're doing with the land, and knowing and trying to make a living and toe the line between moving forward to, say, for example, maybe all organic, to they're transitioning, and it's hard, and it's so it was kind of like this all footage from that stuff, and it sort of fit the idea of the song, I guess. They're not factory farmers, but it's in that, they're in that. It's there. It's all around us. We're all around them and stuff. So it's kind of like a metaphor, the video footage, I guess. Maybe that's way too. Maybe that's me overthinking everything.
Ooh.
No, I think a lot of people have to deal with it, whether it's on farming. It's do you move to the organic? Do you move to something like that? But that's a commitment. It's a commitment, and that transition can be.
Yeah. The son who's in charge of the farm is the fourth generation farm, and it's not, it's all been that world was given to him. He didn't ask for it, you know. So he's working hard at how I got into helping them was they had a guy quit, and it was their first year. They planted 350 acres of hemp and for CBD stuff, and it didn't go very good. They didn't make any money. It was an experiment, you know, and so the next year they didn't do the hemp because they lost money on it. And that was one of his many attempts to break the pattern of, you know, the corn. It's either corn or soybeans, mostly in central Midwest, you know, kind of stuff. And he's more educated about it than we are, but he's trying to get out of it and not lose the whole farm in the process, you know? So so I just got a bunch of footage from that. It's none of it's super great. It's all pretty homemade, but I make a lot of homemade videos because I can't afford, I mean, you know how much money it costs to make a video. I sometimes can't believe some of the videos I see and where the budgets come from to make them and stuff. I can't even come close to that kind of stuff. So I get a lot of my videos are footage, public domain footage from stuff I research and find, and then I chop it up and make my own versions of these little documentary movies or something like that. Or I have this little camera I carry around with me and get footage stuff. Yeah. Have I bored you yet?
No, I think.
I was going to say I love that you kind of give us a glimpse of your thought process, because I was going to say one of my favorite moments at shows this summer, it was you in the early summer, I believe, at the Hook and Ladder, and you were very generous with sharing stories about your childhood. I think it was, and it was nice to see, because I know you're very professional and always want to put on a really good show, which you did that night too. But you
lost my voice. Did I lose my voice that night?
No. There was
a different one.
No, there was a guy that was there that you knew from like California, and you told the story of Kingston. You went somewhere with your mom, was there doing something like a makeup something or something.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, funny stories, but I do have to say I love those moments that you give a little glimpse of that of yourself, and with these videos, I think you're telling your true life story, which that's what I love about your lyrics too.
Thanks. Yeah. I definitely have tried to write songs that don't come from the heart, and I've never been able to release one. So, like make, you know, like writing pop. I can write maybe with a pop sensibility, but I've never been able to like just make up some sort of like thing that doesn't have any matters of the heart in there.
I was going to say thank you for that, because you do it well. Yeah, but I do think, yes, we get it through the lyrics, and it's always like, oh, is that a story of his? But then when you actually told a glimpse of yours, I hung on to that as a very special moment too. So
thanks.
It was cool. Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I think that there's always a high level of authenticity, and there's whether I think the story is a first person story or something you've heard or something you've made up, whatever it is, it's coming somewhere from you, you know. And I think that's
there's definitely a lot of I've made up plenty of stuff for sure. I'm not, but it's all definitely coming from somewhere real for sure. There's aspects of truth some songs have a lot of aspects of truth and some of them don't, but that's what's so great about being a songwriter is you can make anything up, but it's all definitely coming from some, past history or observation. I like to observe the human race pretty heavily.
Will there be any songs about, you had something about your car being stolen?
Oh, my car that was stolen, yeah. Well, I haven't written that one yet, but I
feel like that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to do it in my way. I don't like to write songs that are telly, if you know what I mean. Like I like the song to be an open interpretation of stuff instead of telling you in order of how things go. I like the audience to be able to make. So I have to. I might attempt to write that song, but I gotta figure out how to do it. Yeah.
New verse of Detroit. There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Adding. Yeah. Yeah. Someone I think put on a Facebook comment about my song broke down. Could now use another verse or something like that too.
There would be another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Another add. Just add another thing. Yeah, that's been an interesting thing. I feel like I should, I don't know who, probably doesn't matter, but I sort of sometimes feel like the insurance company is more of the thief than the person who stole my truck. So, that's part of my factory stuff, or one of those kinds of songs that sing about.
Yeah, a David and Goliath theme for sure.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think
better than me.
I'll go for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I look forward hopefully to hearing some of these songs on Friday when you're playing.
Yeah, I just actually right before we got on this meeting, I sent my band a set list for this week, and which we never used to do, but somebody in the band asked me if I would actually send a set list. So
Ooh.
a couple weeks, a month ago, I think, and so I started making them. I don't keep to it.
I was just gonna ask.
The first half of the set, since we've used a set list, I've kept to it, and then the second half it falls apart. But
flourishes. It doesn't fall apart. It flourishes.
Right. It flourishes. Yes, it expands for sure. And so I just put in. I think I put in 4 songs that I haven't played in a while, and
Awesome.
I think 3 or 4 of them are ones of these unreleased ones that are songs that maybe I've played a couple of times in the past, but are songs that didn't get on a record. They didn't fit a record. So I got like whatever. I have 3 records worth of music that nobody's ever heard. So
you got to build some homes for these homeless songs. I
know. So that's kind of what I'm doing here a little bit with, like, Down in the Factory was on Burning the Deal, but it's not the same song. It's a different, definitely a different representation of it for sure. So, and I liked the original version.
Your songs often evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I have a song called Boomtown. The original version of that doesn't sound anything like the one that made it on the record. And there's 2 versions in between that. And they're all like mixed and mastered and could be released, but whatever. I have a hard enough time telling one. I
was going to say, you might be the right person for so many different devices and way to hear the music. Everybody who listens to it on their phone could think it's one song, and everyone who has a CD thinks it's another song.
That's fine. That's actually, you know what? I kind of treat social media that way most of the time. I know a lot of people, they make a post and then they press the button and it goes to all the social medias, and I don't do that. I try to make them all different for some reason. I don't know if I'm having fun or not. sometimes it's just the wordage. I can't repeat myself, so it's like the one sentence is a little different. But sometimes I'll put up. I've made like quick little videos for a promo for a concert or something like that, and I'll put a different one on a different thing, whatever. I don't
That's
know.
good. Each is different. People approach them differently. People
Different,
read
yeah.
them
Some people
differently.
won't go on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I don't use all of them. Have you ever been on TikTok?
I have viewed it. I have not been viewed on it, but I have viewed it.
Right. Okay. What about you,
Actually,
Heather?
Anya had a whole channel. She did over the COVID. She did a whole bunch of series of videos with the skeleton.
Oh, sweet.
Have you?
No, I haven't. I'm curious. I think two times in the last year I opened it and I was like, I think I should have a TikTok account. And then I watched a couple of TikTok videos. I was like, I don't think I should have a TikTok account.
That's kind of Anya had a few thousand followers, and she finally said, "I don't think I should be on TikTok." When a 17-year-old is saying it,
right?
Although somebody's on it.
Well, right, but that's that goes back to my "Down in the Factory" song. What's on it, and why is there so many? Now, I'm all about entertainment. I love film and Hollywood and movies and home movies and bloopers and blah 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 blah. And sometimes you get caught in the rabbit hole on YouTube and watch things that don't have any real substance other than entertainment, which is sometimes all the substance we need. But there'll be a picture of or a movie of someone doing something goofy or an accident, like somebody driving into a lake or whatever, or falling down on a skateboard or something like that, which will have 1 million views, and then we'll put out a song and we'll get 10, or something like that. and what's important in the world, and there's all these crazy things going on, and maybe the weird, goofy TikTok stuff is the release from all the crazy stuff, or is all the crazy stuff happening,
cause and
because
effect.
it's the chicken or the egg kind of like which, or is it all sort of monsterly growing together? I don't know, but I do find that stuff kind of like I would tend to believe if you went to other parts of the world where these bigger issues have been going on in a heavy way for a long time, TikTok's not that important, probably. Maybe I'm wrong.
We could go down this rabbit hole for a long time, because I will say, TikTok, who knows, but I can tell you a lot about the role that, say, Twitter played in a lot of political movements, because you can mobilize people quickly.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
And so
for sure.
And so I don't
know enough about TikTok to make that to have any judgment on that.
Well, and I don't know that it's so much there for mobilizing people, but it is certainly a way to get people thinking a certain way.
Well, I mean, now it's been coming out in the news about Facebook and their algorithms, and knowing that what it's doing, but they're not changing it because it's the money making deal. It's down in the factory.
I was just gonna say, it's kind of like deciding to go organic or grow hemp. Do you do it, or do you go with the money maker?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good place to leave it. But
I'm just gonna say, you have a lot of questions, where we might have to leave it there. Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, I'm not sure how long we were supposed to do
No,
this.
this is great. This is great. But before we go, let's remind folks that you are playing on Friday, November 19th at the VFW.
Yes, we're here
the Uptown VFW.
Yes.
And you were playing with Mark Arelli.
Mark Arelli is opening that show. Yep.
Awesome.
I'm not sure how much I'm going to play with him. He sent me some. We're going to try to play some songs together.
Cool.
He's coming solo. I know he would like to have I know he has an entourage of some sort, but finances, financial stuff won't allow that kind of stuff to happen right now. So some of the shows we're doing as kind of co-bills. I think the one in Arlington Heights is a co-bill. Madison as well. Rockford, I think he's technically opening. As you know, they're just the way it gets sort of advertised is a little different. Maybe because he's played in this area of Chicago, probably maybe more than me. I don't, or maybe as much as me. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
So that's the way that got billed. But he's opening, and then we're gonna try to play some music together as well.
Nice.
We've only spoken on the phone. Well, I've never been in person with him.
Nice.
So,
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is.
In a blind date kind of a way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That's good. That's good. And then we've got the video release 10 a.m. Tuesday, November 16th. It's tomorrow, November 16th.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning. So I'll have this up in time for Down in the Factory. So they can find that on your YouTube channel, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
It's very good. You might have it down better than me.
All right. Good. Good. And probably the best place your website, is that the best place for folks to go to kind of find everything else? Erik Koskinen.
Yeah, I think so. I probably don't update it quite as much as I'm supposed to, but I also don't know if people go and look at websites anymore. I do put all the dates, I do keep the tour schedule stuff accurate, but I don't know.
But they can get the links to all of the social stuff. So if they go to erikkoskinen.com,
for sure.
they can get the links
sure.
to everything but TikTok, we'll say.
Yep. Everything but TikTok. For now.
Yeah.
And,
we're going to give you so much shit if you open up an account.
Followers.
Maybe I could get my stepson to do it for me or something like that.
That's really what I tell people to do. Anyway.
But actually, it was Nicole's daughter. She said she just turned 15, but I think she was the one. She said don't. Yeah, she was like maybe similar to what you were saying. Like don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time. No.
But maybe she was just like, we don't want adults on here. Maybe she didn't want. I'm not sure.
Don't say you know me.
Right.
You can come, you sitting back. Yeah.
Right.
God love kids for that. It was Erik. Thank you for joining us. This has been super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it has been fun. And sorry about if I did go off.
No, there's no. This
Okay.
This is the fun of the Zoom thing. There's no hard stop at all. This has been great. We go until we go. So it's been perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. And are you going to be back in